Hi, my name is Noemi Chavez, and I'm excited to introduce you to a wonderful friend. Her name is Tracy Colunga, and she is one of the founding mothers of Brave Global. And truly, it's a gift to have you here with us to share with this incredible audience the beginnings of what Brave is now. Tell us a little bit about how, as a church or as an organization, we can better partner with what's happening in our local city.
Yeah, absolutely. About 6 years ago, the city of Long Beach, I'm the Chief Innovation Officer for the city of Long Beach, and the city was really looking at this issue of human trafficking and knowing that 85% of the girls picked up by the police department under the age of 18 were actually in foster care. And as a city, we were really trying to address how do we look at the police department when they do their undercover stings with, rescuing girls from trafficking, and the city prosecutor prosecuting pimps for their behavior, really trying to look at how do we break this cycle of human trafficking in our city. Around that time, I was actually at a women's conference with Pastor Noemi, and we were in the middle of worship and just, praising the King. And in the middle of that moment, I had a vision of young teenage girls who were rescued from human trafficking at a similar conference specifically for them, for young women. And there was music and they were worshiping the King, and just in a glimpse of a moment, I could see how the church could create this atmosphere, knowing that King Jesus is the rescuer for all people and for girls who have been caught up in the life. And I remember immediately I was crying, I was sobbing, and just kind of overwhelmed with this vision that what we women of God experienced in that moment, we could be a part of that magic to create that for young women. Pastor Noemi pulled together a group of women who were event planners and organizers, who were decorators and bakers, who had all these gifts and talents to begin to form the first Brave conference. And I think the thing that resonates most in my heart and mind is that we as government officials oftentimes will create projects or programs to alleviate a problem such as human trafficking. But the reality is programs don't change people, people change people. It's an authentic relationship with other human beings, with people who love God, that will ultimately help change the lives of others by introducing them to the King. And so I think that's the magic of Brave, is that it's not yet another program to rescue girls from human trafficking. It's a project that introduces young women to the King, who is the ultimate savior.
So how would you encourage churches or organizations to begin a relationship with government organizations within their city? What are some of the steps that they can take?
Yeah, I would say first and foremost, pray and ask for wisdom, for God to show you who are those leaders in your city who would be willing to listen to the concerns of your heart and the concerns of the church. Number two, read the local newspaper, watch the news. What's happening in your city around human trafficking? Are there pimps being prosecuted? What's happening? And then number three, find those government leaders. So here in the city of Long Beach, as you know, I'm a woman of God working for the city of Long Beach, but Chief Robert Luna, our police chief, is a well-known strong man of God that attends a local church. Our fire chief is also a man of God. And so finding those believers in your city who are at the helm of leadership. Now, we do have other leaders who are not believers, but I knew that they would get behind this idea of partnering with the local church. And so there were other probation and city prosecutor, the school district, and others that we brought to the table. They were leery because they were worried about proselytizing and laying on of hands and anything else the church might do that might feel awkward for government. And so that was a world we had to straddle, government and church.
Can you go a little further on that? Because it's really important for us as we are coaching Brave organizations and churches who are saying we want to connect with the girls that are most at risk. How important is it for the church to be willing to navigate that tension?
Yeah, I would say absolutely. I think, praying quietly in these meetings is perfectly appropriate. But when you're in the room with these government officials, being mindful that, we do have a policy about separation of church and state. And we have to be very mindful of that in our roles, we can't proselytize or offer a certain religion over another. And so I think it's important to say that we're going to create an environment for these young women that's welcome, it's friendly, it's empowering, it's loving. However, we're not going to be preaching the Bible like our normal, Sunday preaching. Yes, it's a word of empowerment, and we all know that it's Jesus infused, but really making sure that we straddle that very carefully. Also, if I can say, also not doing altar calls or laying on of hands, because again, for some government officials, it will feel very awkward, and they may actually say no if they feel like there's things that are too religious or too churchy.
Absolutely.
But being, careful of, like, again, infusing Jesus. And Pastor Noemi, I feel like you've done that really well, of infusing Jesus in this women empowerment within everything you do, without the government officials like school district and probation feeling uncomfortable.
Yeah, it's important, I think, and I'm grateful that you say that, because we really want the church to understand that we're not lacking Jesus in our justice. We know who we are as the body of Christ. I am a pastor of a church, and I'll preach Jesus to you every single Sunday. But for the sake of a credible gospel between the church and government, we're willing to do and ride the tension of church and state. And there are ways in which the church can serve these girls in a way that's going to be life-giving to them. And truly, we believe that the presence of God in us, in those spaces, every aspect of our program, from breakfast through event, lunch, whatever it is that we put together, everything has a faith foundation in it. And it's being led by a tribe of women who are loving the girls and believing that the presence of God is embracing them in a way where the church is being trusted, right? We want the trust of these government officials. We don't want them to pull the girls away and we have an attitude of resentment or being disgruntled Christians. They didn't give us a chance. They don't understand. No, we know that there's a bigger picture, and we want these girls to experience the presence of Jesus. And so we are grateful for the partnership that you created, and we're grateful for the fact that in time, your role has moved on to other things that you're doing in the city, but yet there's an empowered foundation for our local church to continue to work with these girls and with the agencies, both foster care and probation, group homes, and whatever doors God opens, it's been out of this place of trust. So thank you, Tracy, for being here, and just grateful that this could be a tool for churches around the world and throughout our nation.